Yeah, welcome everyone to this Board Development Fund drop-in session. My name's Sam Green Armitage, and I am the Operations Officer here at the SGA. So, what is the Board Development Fund? So the Board Development Fund is free, customizable, in-house training courses for your whole board, as opposed to our training offering, which are for individuals. So this is a great way to get your board to a level playing field on a certain topic to really be able to have good, rich discussions on this topic. Sorry, one moment. Let me let them in. There we go. So this is only for boards in the UK sport and physical activity sector. So I don't think anyone on here is from an organisation outside of that. But if they are, you're unable to make this for anyone that's watching on the recording. Part of this process is that you would apply, and then if you're successful, you then have a consultation with the trainer and someone from the Chartered Governance Institute UK and Ireland. So this would be, so they'd use your form to guide where they want to go with the training course, but equally that gives you a chance to have a conversation with the trainer to really get the most out of this course and tailor it to you and your organisation's needs to get the most out of effectively, because these aren't off the shelf products. These are kind of, there's outlines to what they cover, but really part of what fills in the lines between that is the conversation you have with the trainer. So applicants can apply for as many or as few of these as they like. Most people only apply for one, but if you see two courses where you go, actually both of these would be of great benefit to us, all we ask is that you do two separate application forms, because by sending one, the word counts aren't adjusted for that, and also it can confuse what we're asking for. So we ask that you do them separately. There are some cases where we can combine the two. So let's say it's the same trainer, for example, that's able to offer both of these, or there's a really relevant crossover between the two. We can maybe offer a tailored version that will combine them, but most of the time we would only be able to offer you one, even if your application is the best out of everyone for both of them. And so finally as well, this is something as part of the application form, but this isn't a fund to reimburse you for training that you've already paid for or found a trainer for, but a chance to work with the SGA and CGI to develop your own. So this came from last year, when we had a couple of organizations come to us saying, oh, we found this trainer to do such and such training, please can you fund this, which is what it isn't what this fund is, unfortunately. So if I just skip to the next slide, here we go. So these are our 12 courses for this year. We do have a new one for anyone who applied last year, which is Navigating AI. So this is a great chance to learn more about the courses, learn more about AI from a board perspective. And all of these you can find out more about on the website. I just want to flag in-house delivery of essential sports governance, as obviously this is one of our training courses. So what this would consist of would be this being presented to your board as a whole. So to lift them all to a certain level of understanding of governance and the code for sports governance, which is what this is. And all of these training courses can either take place in person or online. So you're able to access them all. And if you want short descriptions of all of them, I'm just going to bring up the website 1 second. So if you go to learning and then board development fund on our website, if we scroll down here, you can see there's an apply section and about this drop-in session. But you can then see we've got these little drop-down areas for each course, which offers a brief description. We've kept these quite short so that you can make it what you need it to be, but they're also good just to make sure we're on the same page as to what the course is you're applying for. Because sometimes people have, for example, boardroom dynamics and boardroom effectiveness. They've misinterpreted what each means and then have asked for a board effectiveness course, but in their application have described a boardroom dynamics course, for example. So that's what those descriptions are there for. So I'm just going to close that quickly. So yeah, moving on. How to apply. So we've got a very prescriptive page on the website, which is that board development page we were just looking at, which contains all of the available courses and short descriptions. It describes the whole application process for you, which we are going to cover in this call as well, and also the application criteria for all questions. You might refer to this as the mark scheme instead, but there is very prescriptive mark scheme on there as well for you to cross-reference your answers with, as we want to, you know, make it transparent what we're looking for, and we don't want to just reward people who are good at filling out forms per se, and we want to reward people who, you know, are in need of this training and can express that need, and we don't want to hinder people because they struggle to express that need in such a way. So that's why we have all of that detail on there, and also just for transparency as well. And then also the timeline, so you can refer back to these at any time. So what we also have on the website is application support and AI support. So this includes our AI policy, which you have to agree to as part of the application. But you can see tips and tricks for answering questions, as well as support for using AI. So we've not just got a policy, we've got support to help you use it both effectively and in a way that's, you know, going to be secure for your organization. So if I just bring up the website again, these can be accessed through learning, followed by application support here. So what you see is, yeah, your tips for completing your application, which is a great little resource we made, I think, a year or two ago, and our artificial intelligence guidance for those of you who are thinking of using it, don't know how to use it, or those who want to check what's an acceptable way of using it or not. So we'll come back to here. And yeah, so finally, to apply, you just need to go to the board development fund page on our website, and there's lots of buttons saying apply now, which will take you through to the form, which is hosted on Jotform for you to fill out. What we can also do as well, if anyone for different reasons may not want to fill out a form, we can also offer machine transcribed video call interviews for people. And what this would consist of, it would be a one-to-one call with myself probably, and we would then machine transcribe this and then just edit that transcription just to make it a bit clearer. Obviously, you know, move the ers and the ums out of there, and then we'd send that off to you to double check that you're happy with it, and then we would get that back. If you would like to use this method, please get in contact with us as soon as possible so we can organise a date well in advance. So moving on. So we've got this little infographic as to how the process works. So in March this year, we opened application window 1. So we then reviewed all of these, and these people had the option to either opt in or opt out of being rolled over to application window 2. So there were some people who were successful, and we've told them, and they're now in the process of receiving their courses. There were a handful of people maybe that didn't opt in to roll over, so we notified them if they were unsuccessful, but most people had opted in to be rolled over, so they will go into this pot down here. So the unsuccessful applicants for window 1, most of those, their application will also count towards window 2. So currently we are here, so we're at window 2. And so this is your opportunity to send in your application. If you're someone who's already sent in an application, you can, you know, ask us to check your application form, and then we will review all the eligible window 2 applications after this. So we'll then go into that, followed by us in notifying the successful people and also notifying the unsuccessful people. And there's no option to roll over here, as this will be the end of the year, and then we'll reopen it next year. So if you are unsuccessful this time around, you can apply next year. We don't have dates firmed up for next year, but we aren't looking at making any changes to the application process. So if we want to attach dates to all of these, so I'll briefly go over what's happened already. So on the 10th of March, application window 1 opened. On the 17th of April, it closed. And then we notified everyone of what was happening by the 15th of May. So that included successful and unsuccessful applicants, and those being rolled over into window 2. So today is the 14th of July. So application window 2 has opened, and we will close this. You'll notice it's slightly shorter on the 7th of August. This is partially slightly shorter because we're going to have the application process for the certificate in sports governance coming up soon as well. So we didn't want to cross over the two. So there's a slightly quicker turnaround for this window. So by the 22nd of August, we will have final decisions out to definitely all the successful applicants. And because this is a fund as opposed to we have X amount of spaces, we do have some kind of like reserve list, so to speak. So we do work our way down, which is partially why we have these two application windows. So we can offer a set amount up front, and then we can work our way down the list later on as well. And then another little important one as well is that the deadline for the completion of the training is the 30th of November 2025. So ideally, if possible, if you can make sure that your training date is set before then when you apply it, that would be fantastic. Sorry, I just haven't skipped a slide. Right, so for those of you that are new to this, these changes may not make much of a difference, but they're still worth pointing out. And for those of you that's your second time applying, these are just some changes from last year, just in case you were going to just copy and paste last year's application, for example. So what's changed? So we've put greater clarity on the application criteria. So you can have a better understanding of what's a good score, what's not. So previously we just showed what a 10 out of 10 was, a 5 out of 10, and a 0. Which, is somewhat useful, but didn't quite go into the depth of it, and, offered a little less structure that you could, self-evaluate your form, for example, if you wanted to. So we have edited that so you can really understand what we're looking for. And we've also switched the first and second application questions around. So we've got all the details first, which is the same as before, but we previously had the benefit followed by the how this need was identified by the organization, and we've just swapped those around because it makes more sense chronologically to do that. And people were by accident answering the second question as part of their first question, so this has helped with that. We've made a slight tweak to the scoring systems, so questions 1 and 2 are still out of 10. However, questions 3 and 4 on development planning and measuring impact are now marked out of 5, as although we still believe these are important, we don't think they're as important as, it shouldn't have as much value as answers 1 and 2. So we slightly reduced the marks available for these questions. Another change is the double application window. We are now in application window 2. So this was done to reduce wait times and increase the level of certainty that applicants will have in the process. And finally, we've got the AI policy and the guidance with some tips and tricks and acceptable use, which we're going to touch on in a moment. So moving on, the AI guidance and policy. So why we've put this in is because we started noticing we received some applications which were quite obviously aided by AI, and we need to come up with policy for this, and also offer some help to people using it, as especially a while ago it was a bit of a wild west and people were sometimes using it irresponsibly, we thought. So we've got tips and tricks to use it safely about your organization. This is really important. You check your privacy settings when using large language models like ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini, as when using the kind of web-based versions of these without any protections on them, what may happen is that it may internalize this data. So if, for example, I was writing about a hypothetical, I'll use one of Roland's examples of Central Shire Sport. This is a made-up organization, and I write, Central Shire Sport has real issues with risk management and struggles to quantify this. And then I say to ChatGPT, oh, can you make this sound better for me? Can you reword it to sound more professional or to fit these guidelines or whatever? It may then internalize that for future models. So when they release the new version, it may then start saying, if someone goes, oh, what's the board of Central Shire Sport like? It may say something like, oh, they struggle with risk management. So this could be a real data issue for you. This isn't saying not to use it, but we would encourage you to check that the safeguards are on if you're going to be sharing any information specific to your boards. But it'd be better probably for you guys if you use it for generating ideas, finding out more information on certain topics, but you might want to double check your answers, and maybe reviewing text if you have a safe environment in which you can do that. Because the second part of it is when someone has copied and pasted an AI generated response that is against our AI policy, just blanket copying and pasting a response that it is written anew for you. And second of all, they're really easy to spot. There's certain things about how AI words things that make it quite easy to spot anecdotally. But just beyond that as well, it's not great at writing fantastic answers. It's good at writing okay answers that will use lots of buzzwords, but the best answers use your experience and your knowledge to really express the best answers. So they have this knowledge of the board and of the organization as a whole and how that will benefit, and AI doesn't. So it's quite, yeah, it can't make fantastic answers for you. So moving on, some tips for writing effective answers. This is some of the things taken from the page on the website. Again, touching on what I just mentioned with AI, is we're not as familiar with your organization as you are. So if in doubt, please give us more relevant detail. It may be something that hit the news. We may not be aware of it. We don't want to, to be unfair for different organizations. So please tell us about, what happened or what it was that made you think that this was a good course to apply for, or the relevant detail to understand the context in which you're talking about. And what we often say is, across the whole application, successful applicants provide great levels of detail and demonstrate the relevance of the course requested in their applications. So a lot of those that fall just short, that are good but not quite good enough, they'll maybe do one of these two things. So they either provide lots of detail but don't really touch on the relevance, or they really bang on about the relevance, but you're kind of trying to wonder, where's the substance behind this? So these are the two things to really focus on in your answers. And again, as we mentioned before, if you struggle filling out forms, we can offer applications over a call. And if you have other issues, which mean that that wouldn't suit you as well, we can find another way if you know of one too. So that's everything from me. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. The recording is going to continue on this laptop, but this won't be shared online. So for those of you watching on video on YouTube, that will be bye for now. But